This will be the most satisfying video that you watch today. Watch as Rachel Maddow reacts as the states start piling in for Donald Trump in the 2024 election. You guys are not going to want to miss this.
While the new shock results Iowa poll from pollster Ann Selzer has been blowing up everybody's news feeds, and for good reason, it is just one poll.
Smart politicians trust the voters, not the polls.
And we should put it in the context of what's going on more broadly in the polling as we're getting into the final polling before Election Day, including the big new poll from NBC News today. The top line of that one is that it's a tie, 49 for Harris, 49 for Trump. Even as the NBC poll shows a national deadlock, there's a couple of internal numbers that the pro-Harris side in particular is latching onto. For one, black voters in the NBC poll support Harris by a margin of 87% to 9%. In context, that's a 3-point larger margin with black voters than Biden won in 2020.
I think you underestimate the good citizens of Gotham City, Chief.
But look at the poll, Batman.
Even though so much recent conversation about this campaign has centered on Harris supposedly having a slipping standing with black voters, in the NBC poll, she's doing better with black voters than Biden did.
They made the case that the country is racist, right? Joe Biden got more of the black vote than Kamala Harris.
Right.
I mean, you just can't demonize everybody for deciding not to.
He almost got 1/4 of the black men,
Because
24%.
Right.
To me this morning as a rolling realignment where you have these disaffected voters who are upset because they're not doing as well as they were doing 4 years ago. And it is not based on race. It is based on class, because Donald Trump has brought in all these new Hispanic voters and black voters, for example, and the Democrats are left being the party of the elite, which they feel has nothing to do with them.
How can it be?
Human mechanisms are made by human hands, Robin. None of them is infallible.
He won rural Anson County, North Carolina. 40% African-American population. It's only the second time since Reconstruction that a Republican won Anson County, North Carolina. He won Starr County in Texas, the first time a Republican has won the county in 128 years. It's mostly Latino county.
Let's just use their logic for a second. They're saying that anyone who supports Trump is an inherent racist. Meanwhile, Donald Trump won a county that was 97% Latino voters. Make it make sense, because I don't think you can win a county with 3% of votes. And that was a perfect representation of Kamala Harris's campaign. She was throwing out these blanket statements with no factual evidence behind it. She and the Democrats had no vision for America. All that they had was just throwing out these statements about anyone who supports Trump, and that's just freaking lazy.
Other candidates who trusted too much in the polls, Mayor Linseed, and they found out that it's the votes that count.
As we do get our final look before actual vote starts to come in from actual voters on Tuesday, let's bring in our friend Steve Kornacki, who was made for this and who is standing by at the big board with so much energy and stamina to spare. Steve, we're looking at you at the top of the mountain right now, my friend.
Well, here we go, Rachel. And look, when it comes to the polling right now, I think the safest thing to say is there are some extremely mixed signals that are coming in. You just talked about Iowa, obviously, a state Donald Trump won by nearly 10 points the last two elections. Now, at least in that Des Moines Register poll, having Harris slightly ahead. It's the question of what is happening in Iowa itself, because obviously you talked to Ann Selzer right there. One of the questions is, does this spill over to other states? Does this reflect something, if this is what's happening in Iowa, that might be happening in other states, maybe states we haven't been talking about, maybe some of the other battleground states?
Right there, Trump wins the 6 electoral votes of Iowa. And so we can see the breakdown there with about half the vote counted there. So there was this thought that perhaps because of his restrictive abortion ban that just went into effect in July, and this highly respected pollster that perhaps there was going to be a wave of independent women who could somehow turn this red state blue, but this was not to be, Chuck.
No, I mean, look, this is a miss, because this looks exactly the way Iowa looked 4 years ago. You know, we're in margin of error range there. So, look, she thought she'd found something.
This is the pollster that we're talking about.
Experience teaches slowly, Robin. and at a cost of many mistakes.
This is our running average. We've been keeping this the entire summer and fall of the quality polls in all of the battleground states. And a couple things jump out here. Well, obviously, they're all close. You don't see a margin here of greater than 1.9 points. You do see a bit of a north-south divide. We've seen this lately in the polling. Trump's leads here, very small, but Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, basically Sun Belt states. Harris's best performances in here, Wisconsin.
CNN projects that Donald Trump has won Wisconsin.
1.8 in Michigan.
NBC now projects he is the winner of Michigan and its 15 electoral votes, state that Joe Biden won in 2020 by nearly 3 points.
These are the northern tier states, 0.3 of a point in Pennsylvania.
We have a major projection. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. This is a huge achievement for Donald Trump and a huge bucket of electoral votes, 19 of them, for his path back to the presidency.
And if that holds, if that cements, that is ultimately good news for Harris, because Michigan plus Pennsylvania plus Wisconsin, if there are no surprises outside of the battleground, would for Harris equal 270 electoral votes. If the action really is limited to the battleground, Donald Trump has to win one of those 3 northern tier battleground states where our averages continue to show Harris with slight leads in those states. Slight leads in those states. And politically, similar movement here. We have not, for the most part, seen in Wisconsin the kind of polling shift we just saw in that new Iowa poll today. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If it potentially could be a state-specific thing, but if it's not, if it's spilling over, this is a place where you would expect to see it on Tuesday night. Sort of an eye test here. I'm going to show you what the map looked like in these rural blue-collar counties. Look at all that red. Here was Obama. Look at all that blue.
Wow.
Not that long ago, Democrats were competitive in rural blue-collar areas. Now they're getting absolutely blown out. And what that means for Democrats is in a state like Wisconsin and others, if they're going to have any chance, they really rely on the suburbs and the cities. They really rely on the suburbs.
We no longer have blue states in this country. We have a country completely red with just blue cities sprinkled in. Look at the Electoral College map of 2024 by county. It is clear Donald Trump represents the will of the people. And you hear the Democrats saying, oh, it should be the popular vote, not the Electoral College. And if we did something radical like that, New York City and California would essentially determine who the next president of the United States would be. No politician would ever visit Ohio, Iowa, Wisconsin. They would never be visited ever again. This election wasn't even close. It was a referendum on the disaster that was the past 4 years under Biden-Harris. Donald Trump won the popular vote, Electoral College vote. He won the Senate, he won the House, he won the governorships, he won every single bellwether county, he won every single swing state. Do not listen to anybody who says this was a close election.
Forming Joe Biden in 2020. So we could show you that as well. We just bring that out here. Harris overperforming in 2020.
Holy smokes. Holy smokes.
There you go. So let this go away and see if there's anything on the east side there.
Literally nothing?
Literally nothing.
Literally not one county?
I mean, not to be boring here for a second, but just getting very real. We now are just another one in the list of countries that has decided to, hey, what the heck? Let's try the strongman thing. Let's let democracy go. Let's put in an all-powerful guy instead, see how it goes. There are many more countries in the world governed by that kind of a system than there are governed by ours. We are the only 248-year-old multiracial, pluralistic democracy in the world. And shall we keep it? A lot of our fellow Americans say we shouldn't. Now we know. Now we know for sure.
We mustn't judge her too harshly, Robin. Even with the best intentions, it's hard to change a lifetime of habit.
They're counting on the half the country that voted against them, the half the country that doesn't want to give up our system of government. They're counting on all those tens of millions of Americans to be despondent, to feel powerless, to check out, which, of course, would mean letting them do what they want, letting them run the table. What they really don't want is for the half the country that voted against them, the half the country that wants to keep our democracy,
And the Constitution is the cornerstone of our great nation. We must abide by it.
Gosh, when you put it that way, Batman, how can I help but agree?
Feeling, sure, regretful about the election outcome.
Self-control is sure tough sometimes, Batman.
All virtues are, old chum. Indeed, that's why they're virtues.
And we should put it in the context of what's going on more broadly in the polling as we're getting in the final polling before Election Day, including the big new poll.
I never would have believed that the polls could be wrong.
How is this woman allowed to be on TV? All that she has is divisive rhetoric. She doesn't have anything insightful ever to say. In fact, how could she possibly compare Donald Trump to Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, and Kim Jong-un? I'm sorry, how is Donald Trump like them in any way? Can you provide any evidence, or do you just want people to get angry that Donald Trump is the president? It's clearly the latter. All that Donald Trump wants is a secure border, world peace, a strong economy, the government to stay out of all of our business. This is basic common stuff. This woman is clearly bought and paid for. She is merely an arm of the establishment, and she just spews propaganda all day long. And anybody who watches this program unironically is being brainwashed, whether they know it or not. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this down below. Are any of you guys 3-time Trump voters, or were you once former Democrats who turned to the Republican Party because of Donald Trump and the insanity of the left? Let me know, and if you enjoyed, make sure to smash that like, comment, subscribe, and wish you guys nothing but the best. Till next time.